The Penguin was disappointing, and I worry about the future of HBO. Let's talk about it. Let me know what you thought of the series in the comments below and stick until the end for my rating. The best aspect of the series is the mob war between the Maroni and Falcone crime families. This war for control of crime in Gotham directly results from the power vacuum left in the aftermath of Carmine Falcone's death in the Batman. And Oz's struggle to push them aside is generally enjoyable. This storyline aligned with my expectations of the series. I expected the series to delve deeper into Gotham's changing landscape and act as a bridge between the Batman and the Batman Part 2. The mob war between the Maronis and the Falcones, and later in the season, the team-up between Sofia Falcone and Salvatore Maroni delivered on that expectation. Other aspects of the Penguin were enjoyable. I think the Penguin's secondary characters are better than Oz himself. For one, Sofia and Victor add depth to Oz's character. Oz can be cruel to Victor, but he also shows him compassion, as he becomes a sort of father figure. Victor's early hesitation to join Oz was the most human storyline of the season, and I wish we had more of that. The Penguin's relationship with Sofia Falcone was also enjoyable. At first, the Penguin treats her like a dangerous pet, knowing he'll eventually have to push her aside. At times, he tries to gain her trust, but as the tide turns, Sofia threatens Oz's dream to control Gotham's criminal underworld, and this conflict is mostly enjoyable. But the Penguin often undermines the expansive world built in the Batman. After watching The Batman, you'd think the Penguin was an insider of Gotham's criminal subculture. After all, his nightclub was a central hub for criminals and corrupt officials. In the movie, his power stems from the Iceberg Lounge. However, in the HBO series, we learned that Oz is not as prominent as we were led to believe. According to the Falcone family, the Penguin never truly controlled his nightclub. Carmine did. Gotham's organized crime world widely view him as a henchman. He's the underdog. To control Gotham's criminal underworld, Oz has to put up a fight. This is best exemplified in the first episode when Oz murders Alberto Falcone. But Oz also resorts to petty crimes and low-stakes endeavors. In my opinion, the HBO series undermines the Penguin's previously established status in Matt Reeves Batman. As a result, I'm less excited to see this character reappear on the big screen for Part 2. Even attempts at creating an origin story for the Penguin fall short, like in episode 7 when we get a flashback of Oz as a child. Almost all flashbacks fail to be exciting enough. I often wish the show would focus more on current events instead of returning in time. I must say, the Victor flashback in episode 3 was the most enjoyable because it added depth to this character and was directly linked to the events of the Batman. Some characters are better enjoyed in moderation. The Penguin is one of them. Quickly, the character established in the Batman lost its original appeal. The Penguin's demeanor, physicality, and speech pattern became annoying. Oz felt like a cartoon among otherwise serious characters and grim settings. Which brings me to another disappointing aspect of the series, Gotham. In most DC movies and series, Gotham is a character of its own, and the criminal underworld is typically intertwined with the mainstream city politics, much like in the real world. For instance, when there was an assassination attempt on Montreal's presumed mob boss, the media covered it, and people talked about it. Surely the disappearance of Alberto Falcone following the very public murder of his father and notorious crime boss would be felt in Gotham. But the Penguin gives us none of that. Gotham lacks the magic it usually delivers. It feels small, and it doesn't help that most CGI shots of the city are pretty ugly. But don't blame CGI artists, they famously work on their ridiculous timelines and budgets. The Penguin is the first HBO series I watched since season 2 of House of the Dragon, and I'm starting to worry about the overall drop in the quality of HBO content. Season 2 of Hot D was imperfect, but at least I looked forward to watching a new episode every week. I was never excited for the next episode of The Penguin. At first, I was cautiously optimistic. By episode 5, I was already losing interest in the storyline and the universe. And by the end of the series, I treated The Penguin as second screen content. Part of the problem is that The Penguin exists in a broader context. The HBO series is a side piece for the ongoing Batman film trilogy, and it's hard to separate the two. HBO seems eager to find synergy between blockbuster movies and television, perhaps to emulate Disney's extended universe strategy. The Penguin was the first, but HBO also produced a series inspired by Denis Villeneuve's Dune saga. After watching The Penguin, I'm not sure this is a good idea. This series shows how hard it is to pluck a secondary character from the big screen and adapt it for television, where budgets and production times are much smaller. But it's not impossible. Disney has had its fair share of success. Think of The Mandalorian or WandaVision. These shows had clear, distinct visions that differentiate them from their blockbuster, big screen counterparts. And that's important because television is a much more constrained medium than movies. It's hard to recreate the magic of a blockbuster movie on a TV budget. Thankfully, HBO is taking a different approach with its Dune series. Dune Prophecy will be set centuries before the events of Denis Villeneuve's movies. This might be a better approach for HBO moving forward, as it will not directly impact the movie franchise. I think HBO cheapened Colin Farrell's Penguin character, and since Oz is set to reappear in the sequel to the Batman, I doubt the series will ultimately serve Matt Reeves' movie universe. Even as a standalone piece, The Penguin fails to live up to HBO's past standards. The series was entertaining at times and I enjoyed watching it, but 8 episodes felt like a drag. At its best, The Penguin can be funny, camp, and eccentric. This is particularly true for the first half of the series, after which the storyline gets confusing and almost burlesque. The best part of The Penguin is the mob war between the Falcones and the Maronis, but don't expect to be wowed by soprano-like high-stakes mafia intrigues. And unfortunately, unlike The Mandalorian and WandaVision, The Penguin never escaped the shadow of its blockbuster big screen counterpart. Let me know what you thought of The Penguin and HBO in the comments below. For more content like this, subscribe and like the video to support the channel. Thanks.